What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We have a huge day here in the crypto markets, and let me explain. A lot of you guys will have no idea how big this could be. Now, we are going to be talking about ZEBEC network, ZBCN, later in this video, along with a few other altcoin setups, including Litecoin, Turtle. See what has gone on in these markets since the last couple of times I have actually covered it. Any updates on these coins, what the next move could be. You guys definitely want to stay around for that later in this video. But right now, we are going to be talking about the driver of this crypto markets, which is Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is at its all-time highs. Well, revisiting its all-time highs at about 110, just shy of. And this breakout for Bitcoin, if it happens today, it's going to be huge for the crypto markets. If you guys were here back in 2020, that breakout, when it actually just went ballistic, when Bitcoin broke 20,000, you guys would know what I'm talking about and how that could pump the altcoins significantly. So I think today is the day to be watching Bitcoin because we're revisiting 110K all-time high resistance right now. Gonna be taking a look into the setup, and then we're gonna be diving into altcoins. And if you guys are new to this channel, you guys should know that I dive deep into the charts every day to find the moves before they actually happen, because this move right here, we've been talking about it for weeks, okay? So we're going to be doing that with technical analysis, with charts in this channel. If you guys do want to learn technical analysis and the charts so you can actually see the markets a lot more clearly for yourself, you guys definitely want to drop a like, subscribe, comment if you have any questions, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, Bitcoin here, I talked about this pattern, this rising wedge pattern that usually breaks to the downside. This time actually broke to the upside of this rising wedge pattern. That is a very bullish signal, because when the odds are that it was supposed to break down, but it actually broke up instead, that tells me that the bulls are actually very strong in here. And my theory is that there is new money coming in, invalidating this bearish pattern here. Because if it was just mainly traders, we would have sold on this pattern, because this is in favor of a breakdown. Now, Bitcoin was at 105.5K here. 109,500 here. Just today, revisited its all-time highs. What I am looking at here is the weekly time frame. Okay, I've been talking about this as well. Now, even though things look bullish on the shorter time frame, something else we still have to pay attention to here is that we still have bearish divergence, which is a sell signal on the weekly time frame. We have a higher high. We've been having higher highs for, this is the third week candle now, okay? But we have a lower high on the RSI. That's classic bearish divergence. However, in a breakout, I can name in the past two, right? Or particular breakouts. One back in November, and then one back in December 2020 on the monthly time frame, that these sell signals will get invalidated, right? And it just keeps going. Could this be the case? It could, but just gotta keep it in the back of my head that there is a sell signal here, right, on the weekly time frame. However, on the lower time frames, I think everything looks good, right? And we're really looking for a breakout of about 110K here for Bitcoin. That's going to be very good for the altcoins, and of course, going forward for the next couple of months through 2025. So let's see if Bitcoin can actually do that. And if it gets rejected at 110K, then we're going to come back to this video, to this channel, and see what could be going on then. But I think today is a very important day to be watching. Now, let's take a look into Total 3, which is altcoins, okay, excluding Ethereum, right? And right now, Total 3 is back. I mean, it has been consolidating and retesting that daily 200 SMA. It is still above the daily 200 SMA right now, which is very important. But I'm not too concerned with this because as long as Bitcoin holds above its daily 200 SMA, the rest of the crypto markets should follow. Okay, at least on the higher averages. I'm talking about Ethereum. I'm talking about total altcoin market cap. It should be following Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and also take a look into ES1 exclamation mark. Very important as well because it's highly correlated with Bitcoin. You don't want to see S&P 500 dumping, the stock market dumping. Right now, it looks like it is trying to bounce back from a breakdown. Okay, a breakdown from this rising wedge pattern. Okay, let's take a look here. So it actually looks like we had a breakdown here, but that did not really affect Bitcoin today. But still gotta be keeping an eye out on this because just because it hasn't affected it today doesn't mean going forward, and it usually has a correlation with Bitcoin. Okay, now based on this breakdown here as of the last 12-hour candle, we have a breakdown target of about 50, just right underneath 5,900 here. Could this actually be a short breakdown and S&P 500 actually recovers from here? Could be, right? Right now it looks like it's going back to retest that upward trend line. Something to be keeping in mind of, but right now Bitcoin doesn't look like it's caring what's happening in the stock market right now. Let's take a look into ZEBEC network. This seems to be in high volume search today. Okay, so I have to do some coverage on this. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. Let's take a look into the monthly time frame. Okay, even though it doesn't have a reading, but I think it's still worth a mention. Monthly time frame is very important because I'm looking for a overbought RSI reading, right? If we're not in overbought, that tells me that we're not near a potential peak. But since this is still a relatively new coin, we don't have a monthly RSI reading. I know this is not the exchange with the most data, right? So let's see here on KuCoin. Okay, I think that actually has more data, but let's see if we actually have a monthly RSI reading there. Okay, we don't. And the reason why I'm not using KuCoin exchange data is because of this wick. It's really throwing the scale off the charts. But we don't have a monthly RSI reading anyways. And why that's important is because, well, I don't want to see, and I don't want to get into an altcoin. I mean, not 100%, but I mean, I would be very cautious of getting into an altcoin with a monthly RSI reading because if you guys actually take a look into any altcoins with a monthly RSI reading back in 2021, tell me how long does the price action stay up there for before the monthly RSI reading, when the monthly RSI reading is in overbought territory before it actually dumps. Just check it out. All right. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame here. This is a cup and handle pattern, right? You have basically a rounded bottom and a smaller rounded bottom. So basically a cup and a small handle. What this is it's usually a bullish pattern. And it favors, the probability favors a upside break of this pattern. And the resistance of this cup and handle would be about 0.228 cents, okay? 0.228 cents, just to kind of round it off. Now, if it actually breaks out of this pattern here, the price target is going to be about 0.39 cents, okay? Just rounding that off as well. So price targets are estimates only. It could be more, it could be less. If this price action actually gets to its price target, what I usually do is I come back and revisit and see how the price action is consolidating and what type of pattern is it forming after it reaches its price target, to get a clue of it would continue breaking to the upside, or will it be pulling back from there. So if you guys want to see more of ZBCN, ZBEC network, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, letting me know that you guys want to see more of this. Let's go ahead and take a look into even a smaller time frame here and see if we can get any clues on what's going on. Okay, daily time frame. There is some divergence on this daily time frame. Okay, we have a high, equal or higher high on this day, an equal high on this daily time frame. However, a lower high on the RSI there. So there could be a pullback at this major resistance. Let's take a look into the 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame, no particular pattern here, right? So we're really just seeing if ZBEC actually breaks out of this cup and handle resistance. Let's take a look into. We're going to be taking a look into Litecoin. See what's going on in this market. Okay. See what has gone on since the last time we have revisited, talked about Litecoin, because it is still major. It has, it's a Bitcoin alternative, right? So weekly time frame, okay. We're not going to go over the monthly time frame here, but you guys should keep that in mind. But I would keep that in mind, okay? Now, I just want to mention that none of what I'm saying here is financial advice, of course. This is just my pure personal opinion on how I see this market, what I would personally do, okay? Now, let's take a look into Litecoin. Falling wedge pattern. This is the weekly time frame. And price target for this falling wedge pattern, if it breaks out by this point, would be about $190 Litecoin. That is still a pretty major move for Litecoin because it's bigger. It's a bigger altcoin. Okay, it's not going to pump as hard as some of these smaller cap altcoins because it's got a big market cap. It's harder to move it. All right, and then we also talked about the smaller falling wedge. This pattern you guys should definitely get familiar with because it's going to be very common, especially after an extensive downtrend on a particular time frame. It broke out of the smaller falling wedge pattern. Okay, it's just, continuing within this bigger one. Let's take a look into this daily time frame. Daily time frame, this one actually looks like, so we talked about a smaller falling wedge pattern. It looks like actually broke down from it. Now, gotta remember, even though falling wedges tend to break to the upside, there is still a chance it breaks down, okay? So let's go ahead and invalidate this and see what we could be dealing with here. Probably more visible on a lower time frame here, 4-hour time frame. Let's see what the price action could be doing. This looks like a valid pattern, right? So we don't have 3 exact candle touches on the upper trend line, but that's close enough in my books. Measure move. You take the opening of the falling wedge, put it on top of an expected breakout point. Measure move will give you about, out of the smaller pattern, will give you about $109 Litecoin. All right, and if it doesn't break out by then, you move the measured target, the measurement along the upper trend line. Let's take a look into Turbo and see what's going on in this market. All right, so Turbo here. Also talked about this a couple days ago. Had a falling wedge pattern. Price target for this pattern is about 1 cent. Okay, just a little bit above 1 cent. What happens if we get to that price target? We're gonna come back here and we're gonna chart what's going on at that time and see if we can get any clues on if it's gonna go up in the short term or would it pull back, right? But right now it is at some resistance. Weekly 50 SMA, that's the resistance. When you have moving averages above the price action is resistance. When you have it below the price action is support. Okay, so your weekly 21 SMA is support, but that is downward sloping. So not great support in my opinion. I don't like seeing downward sloping support because in my opinion that's weaker support. Now let's take a look into a smaller time frame. So that price target is still valid, right? We're still seeing higher lows on some of these bigger time frames here. Let's take a look into the 4-hour because I don't see anything exactly worth mentioning on this daily time frame except that we are still Turbo is still below the daily 200 SMA. 4-hour. All right, 4-hour time frame. This looks like it has already kind of broken out, right? It has already broken out. And this could be it, okay? Maybe this. This would make more sense. All right. Measure move for this smaller falling wedge pattern since it actually broke out of here, okay? That was a fake out here and the actual breakout was here. Measure move will give you about just right above 0.63 cents here, Turbo, short-term price target. Now, this wraps it up for my video for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys want to see any more of what I'm talking about here, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment. I will bring you guys more updates on these coins and newer ones next time. Have a beautiful day.